Discover the extraordinary fragrance Ariana Grande REM Cherry Eclipse. Delight in black cherry jubilee, sugared honeysuckle, marshmallow meringue, and glowing amber. Get the perfect fragrance. Ariana Grande's REM Cherry Eclipse, exclusively at Ulta Beauty.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So then I'm doing IT, and when I go to plug the servers in, they become sentient, and they won't let us access our network unless we forward their chain emails and memes to more and more and more people, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant finds and invites best fit candidates to apply, so you can discover talent you may have missed. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Every Who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one Who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and low prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as Who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
Coming up, another very special guest. He's the voice of USA Rugby and an overall grand fellow to boot. It's Mr. Will Hooley. How are things going as America lurches towards a home World Cups, and will we be ready? Stick around to find out. This is the Mall Street Journal. Hello, cheers, and welcome to the Mall Street Journal, the show that brings you all the best in terms of news and reviews of American rugby. As you have no doubt deduced, we also like to bring you lovely bonus episodes. This time, I'm thrilled to announce frankly, a bit of a rugby legend. It's the one and only Mr. Will Hooley. Will's rugby resume includes premiership clubs such as Northampton Saints, Exeter Chiefs, and Saracens, but American listeners and probably friends of mine will know him as a broadcaster and a media personality for Major League Rugby. He's also represented England at the under-20s level, and I think has 18 caps for the USA Eagles. Is that right? Will, thank you so much for carving out some time today. Do I have it right so far, and how the heck are you?
David, great to be on. Love the work that you do, and the Mall Street Journal. How great is that as well? Even the name just captures me. You are. I think you're pretty much spot on. Yeah, 18 caps, 20 appearances, something like that, and a bunch of them also injured for as well. Which I always look back now and I'm like, damn it, what could have been more? But I look back on my career fondly. Great memories, great people, and it's enabled me, I guess, to stay within the game today in the work that I do.
Well, you teed that up beautifully. I know you need to keep it brief today. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. Last time we spoke, it was still sort of pretty early in your broadcasting career. I was asking if you were still tempted to, lace up the boots every now and then. But what about now? Do you find time to get in any playing? I know there was a great pickup game on Venice Beach for a long time. I know Dallin Stanford and Todd Clever were going to be there. But I think you're in San Diego now. Is that right?
Yeah. Southern California. Which loving, my wife and I. No, I'll be honest, I have not picked up my boots to play again. I had my career, I also had my injuries, and as I mentioned already, I think a charity game or whatever, I'm probably very mindful of I don't need another concussion, I don't need another operation, or I don't need another. I think my wife would look at me in a very shrewd way. But no, look, it's always sort of a carrot that dangles in front of you. Would you want to get back on the field? And if I'm honest, David, when I go watch these games live and being privileged to be part of some media work and whatever it might be, there's actually the question that surrounds me is like, why and how did I do that? Why did I play that game at the professional level? And it's barbaric. It's just collisions, but it's also wonderful. And my respect now is even more to the guys and girls that play it than ever before. I think when you step away and realize just how much of a difficult sport it is.
Do you think it's much different now than when you were back, say, with the Saracens, for instance? People always talk, the game's gone soft and all that. It hasn't changed that much from where I sit. What do you think?
Look, I think it definitely has. I would say the game has definitely not gone soft. I think ruling and laws are coming to play, really actually around player welfare and protecting the players. I think you've particularly seen that,
Mm.
with the high tackle laws and rules and whatever you want to call it. But it's incredible to see how much a decade. I remember when being part of Northampton, we won the Premiership back in 2013, and actually like some of the rules or lack of laws that are in place there, the concussion protocol or whatever it might be, compared to what it is now, it has come on. And then you're also looking at the breed of the player at the moment, the hybrid that is of the back rower who can also play centre, and the centre who can always also play back row. We've seen that with South Africa recently. I mean, the athletes are just freakish. I do believe, and I always kind of did, but even more so in this era, that I think rugby players genuinely are the best all round athlete. Because your NFL linemen, the big guys, the power, whatever, but then the durability, the fitness, the contact element, the tactical element, the awareness. I don't know. I'm obviously biased, but I think the rugby athlete this day and age is as good as it's been.
Well, the way you didn't say him by name, but I immediately thought you're talking about Andre Esterhuizen for
Yeah.
South Africa. Players like that, is he the wave of the future? I mean, he's no spring chicken either, but is that the way things are headed?
I think so. I think when everyone wants to play with more ball in hand, play faster, defenses though are better. So again, it's durability, it's athleticism of your play. Not don't get me wrong, rugby's still a game for all different shapes and sizes. But I think if you can be across the board and be, I just look at all these back rowers now who are so quick and almost quicker than the wingers in some respects. Yeah, I just think we're always evolving. The game's evolving, and so are the athletes.
It's weird. I don't want to go off script here, but Rassi Erasmus, it seems like he's the only coach who's actively innovating like that. Like every weekend, something new is coming out. There's a new wrinkle from Rassi, and sometimes people get up in arms and say you're pushing the rules. That you should. This is disrespect for the game. Why aren't more coaches like that? It seems like that's the way you grow the game and expand your own team. I don't understand why we don't see more innovation.
He is. He is a unicorn as a coach. I think. I think Rassi Erasmus. I've never been coached by him, or obviously know too much about him, but just the confidence that is instilled in that Springbok squad. Certainly currently at the moment, but over the last years, they can go and take that risk and go and try that thing out. I remember with Eddie Jones when he was with England, a buddy of mine, a former teammate, ex the Chiefs, Jack Noel. He was a winger. There was talk about looking at him at the back row and whatever it might be. You've got to have really good coaches though to implement that, and you've got to have the confidence. So clearly, that's where South Africa are. Just shows you how good they are, and they've got strength and depth anywhere, so they can just try things whenever.
Well, I started the show by calling you the voice of USA Rugby. There's probably other hats you wear. I noticed in your email signature actually mentions it says you're technical director. Are you sort of transitioning into a less just straight pundit role and more into sort of production?
Yeah, well, I think that the technical directors mean different things. I know what you mean by TD on production. Excuse me, but no, I think as I came into the business, technical director was more of a come in as a jack of all trades, master of none, and purely be around the various different parts of the business. And I think now I'm certainly streamlining a bit more towards sort of broadcast production, which has slowly been like a 2-year thing, and something which I'm really excited about. And not just playing a sort of face within rugby here in America. I'm certainly not the voice. I'm not the face. I know my part is to bring out the stories, bring out the best of our players and our sport in this country, and to help it grow. And yeah, I've always, maybe had that element of imposter syndrome around my accent, having a British accent, even though playing for the US and whatever it might be. But I also deeply care about the game here in this country for numerous reasons, not also, frankly, family reasons as well. But yeah, I'm trying to do my part both in front of the camera and behind the camera. And I think we talked off air, David. One of the big things I'd love to see as well is the conveyor belt then of the talent that's coming through off their playing careers, then maybe into the booth, into the media studio, and really creating a sort of pathway and an ecosystem because that's what we want to get to, right? Is having professional or certainly former professional rugby players talking about the great game here and their stories, as much as also going out into talent outside of the rugby ecosystem to bring that TV production knowledge into rugby in this country. So yeah, I'm planning a few things up my sleeve and busy in various different areas. So I think technical director is just, as I say, a big grey headline, which means a lot of different things.
Well, you mentioned these other aspects that you're working on, and recently you finished a project that I know from what you've been saying about it online that you're really proud of. It was a really great piece, a really moving piece. I think it's probably part of a series called Off the Pitch. You did a feature with Dan and Candace Creel. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's I mean, look, the story really, the great thing about our game is we do have some unbelievable people involved. Men, women, players, coaches, staff, fans, whatever it might be. The people like yourself as well, the supporters. And Dan Creel, obviously brother of Jesse Creel. So the Creel name certainly known in the rugby world, but really the work that him and his wife Candice have done with children with cancer around the world, let alone obviously in the Pacific Northwest. Without giving too much away yet, the full features on USMLR YouTube, but also you would have seen clips drop promoting their charity Happy Bundles. And look, Dan's wife Candace got diagnosed with stage three breast cancer about 5 years ago, and an incredible story of a couple who, through adversity, came out the other side, and it just shows love, the ability that rugby has to touch the community and then giving back. And they decided that through a difficult time in their life, they wanted to put their energy into helping others, which is incredible. And that helping others is, children with cancer, which is a really touching subject. And I was just honestly, I'm on a mission across the league and here in the US to try and capture these stories, do it properly. Sit down with them in their environments, and yeah, like the story kind of writes itself. So do go and check it out. Do go and check out Happy Bundles as well, which is the charity. And Dan Creel is not just a hard ball carrying center; he's also a top human being as well as his wife Candace. It was a really privileged thing to make, and one which in my time since retiring is probably my proudest, not necessarily achievement, but something of, I guess, creation. It's not Oscar worthy. I did it alongside a videographer who recently came out of college, and I just discussed to him about, putting it together. Need your help on capturing it. And wonderful guy, Cole Johnson, and fantastic work and help from Seattle Seawolves for logistics and Seattle Children's Hospital. So there you go. That's sort of the rundown of it all, and yeah, really proud about it. And most impressively, like, donations are coming in, awareness is there for the charity, and they're doing so well.
What it's grown into from this tiny little thing to what it's blown up into. And like you said, the story writes itself and is incredible and it's so compelling. But as you say, you also just did a great job. It's a great package. It's, as a production piece, it's beautiful. I'm not surprised you're really proud of it.
Thank you.
Speaking of how things are going, the MLR has had perhaps its most sort of, I don't want to say contentious, it's not been contentious, but up and down, worrisome offseason. The contraction rate was faster than I think a lot of us anticipated. Having the also-ran Houston team all of a sudden disappear from being in a final, crushing Utah. They were a staple. We're down to this kind of core six with only, I think Seattle's the only remaining original team. But I was just visiting with TK at Free Jacks HQ just this past week. You can feel the momentum. Maybe am I foolish to be really optimistic about how the season's going to go?
Wow, look, where do we start? We'll start at the end thing that you just said. No, you're not foolish. The 2026 season is and will be upon us. The off season. Hey, look, I'm not in the logistics operations side of the business. Some of the news when it hit honestly hit me as first to, like, as it would be for a fan, and some of it incredibly hard and difficult. I think when you look back on where we are as a league and as a probably sport in this country, I think sometimes we get a little bit far ahead of ourselves. I think the word emerging goes out the window, and we kind of think that we're all established, all perfect, and all singing and dancing. And I think that's far from the truth. And and I'm just putting my hat on. I'm taking my MLR employment hat off here. Is lessons had to be learned, financially had to be learned, and logistics wise had to be learned as well, to really focus on a competition, a business that's viable and efficient moving forward. People obviously want to see, like, comparisons to other sports leagues around the world, rugby competitions around the world, let alone the sports leagues that we have here in the US. But I think sometimes, like, even if you look at those rugby competitions around the world, they're not making money. I'll tell you that for sure. And like, sometimes I just think there's the growing negative around, well, screw this, throw this out the water, this doesn't work. There's going to be aches and pains. And this has been a massive ache and pain in the off season. Credit to a lot of incredible people that are still here, and those owners that are still here with those teams. There is an absolute buy-in, which I've heard is fantastic to hear, and things are going to change, but change for the right reasons. I do believe that, and I think then what will be seen as like a reset year for 2026 will springboard into, do not be surprised that just because it's 6 at the moment, the addition of a 7th or 8th by 2027 already. But I think we then need to just be, mindful, like, do we need to go straight back to 12, teams in the league? Maybe not. And have really core groups, communities, the likes of your Quincy in New England. Those are the packages you want. So look, it's been tough, and I just think there's the elephant in the room. There's no point being brilliant and positive about it. Like, no, it's not the situation that the MLR would have wanted to be in, or rugby in this country. And I feel players, staff, you name it, who've been affected. But I am also a believer, certainly on certain things that I'm involved with, that until you actually kind of hit, not rock bottom, but a point where you do need to change, that is only when actually you start moving in a direction that is better than the direction we were probably moving in off the field. And then some agreements and disagreements at higher levels, get ironed out. So I don't know if I kind of waffled an answer there. I'm pretty good at just waffling answers in general without getting too technical into it. But I think
you're angling to become a senator one of these days.
Well, no, God, yeah, I want to stay out of politics for the life of me. But it is just, it's something which I think finally we're in a stage of going forward. Some great things, projects, ideas to come out of it, and we'll have a 2026 season. And I know that rugby will kick off and play whenever that is. Schedule, I believe, is soon to drop, and we put the past behind us. We look to the future.
Well, optimists like myself have been, I remember the year the Gilgroni stuff kind of blew up. Since then, lots of people like myself have been pointing and saying, well, yeah, but look at Major League Soccer, look at the MLS. Shrink, contract, grow, contract, grow, contract. It seems similar. Do you kind of think that MLR are on a similar path where we're weeding out the maybes, and we're going to end up with a core stronger thing that's going to have longevity?
Yeah, I mean, literally, yes. And again, I can't go into loads of details about like why that team folded as well is kind of a word that I don't always like using, because in certain aspects of some of those teams that just like have stepped away, it's stepped away rather than folded. And again, not to mention names or teams. But yeah, like we've got to all be in the same drive of wanting the same thing. I think with what we have left, or the owners and the teams we have left, we have to, go after better production, better sponsors, or the sponsors that we do have, keep them, really on board with the vision. So, yeah, look, we've all got lots of work to do. And I think, as someone said to me, like, it's a startup business at the end of the day, and startup businesses come with real highs and real lows. But, the reward is there. I think we all know how great this game is and can be in this country.
It's a great transition. You and I, as we already said, we're both in Chicago for that match. A lot of criticism after that match about the state of the production, about the broadcast itself. Being in the stands, I wasn't really aware of that. And it's funny, too, because like you said some things that were, less than glowing about the actual broadcast and how the day went at Soldiers Field there. other people I know all listed very similar sort of issues they had. It's funny, and because a couple days after I was reading those things and I was thinking, yeah, they're absolutely 100% correct. But I didn't feel that at the time. It felt I was really enthusiastic at the time, maybe because it was 60 plus thousand rugby fans, which was a new thing for me. But do you think that Ireland versus New Zealand game was kind of a backward step for American rugby?
It's a great question, David. But I also want to catch both you and I, maybe not so much yourself, because you are very much an optimistic, but also myself, when I think rugby fans, and I love everyone out there, and I'm one of them, like we're almost our worst enemy. Again, it goes back to my point about how we think we're probably something big and grander than we are at the moment. And I mean that
Mm.
not just at the MLR level, I mean that at kind of all level. I actually didn't make comment on the production because I was there watching it live. I didn't see too much of the production. And also because I know some of the difficulties and challenges, which again, the average person, I mean public, won't know, and they're probably looking at decision making and being like, "Why?" And you're like, "Oh, if you knew the ins and outs and the policies and whatever, then you probably still wouldn't understand." But I thought the aura around that game in Chicago felt
Mm.
amazing, David. Like I've been very privileged to have played in some pretty awesome games here in the US. And been to a couple as well. I've never felt like being in a major US downtown city and felt rugby took over. And that was the vision for me of 2031. That got me so excited. And maybe it was
Mm.
that level of so much excitement in the game was just a bit disappointing. And you can't, that's just sport. Any sport, there's games. I've been to enough baseball games and seen a 0-0 or 1-0, maybe win or loss to the Padres. And like, you walk away and just go, well, that was rubbish. But like, that's just sport. I don't think it was necessarily like because it was in America, was it a bad game? There was so
Mm.
much good, and I really wanted to focus on the good as much as also understanding the work-ons. And actually, some of those work-ons could be very simply improved for next time. But yeah, I think rugby fans we automatically look at the negative. Meanwhile, the positive is certainly should be there as we go forward and only grow from events like the All Blacks Island game in Chicago.
I had a fun time. Like I said, I've never been around that many rugby fans, so that alone was great. And people said, "Oh, well, you can see the football lines." Well, guess what? It looks like at Fort Quincy when I watched the Free Jacks. Like it was very much kind of what I'm used to. So it was like a great game plus. So
Yeah.
um, our men did just finish their autumn series. If we look at their last, 7 matches, it's 2 wins, one against a Samoa team that was struggling and frankly did again this week. They did secure that spot in the World Cup, but with a draw against Belgium. And then we had the nice win this past weekend. If you're gonna just off the top of your head give us a 1 to 10 rating for the USA men, the last 7 fixtures or so, where are we for you?
Oh boy, put me on the spot there. I really try and be an optimist and a positive. Again, I feel that's my job and role. There's no point being negative about USA Rugby. Don't flog a dead horse at times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know how much hard work and challenges that both players, staff, whatever, operate under. Look, and I heard as well, speaking to people in the camp, that Scott was very open and honest about this year, and as much as qualifying for the World Cup, that automatically puts it above a 5 out of 10, in my opinion. Because
Yep.
if we're looking at that alone, that was number one of all things. And I, for one, was terrified if we ended up going to Dubai for that repechage tournament and. Yeah, Samoa got it done, but my word, Belgium will kick themselves potentially. I
Wow.
did watch that game, but so I would say it's probably anywhere between a 5 to a 6 because the reason of not putting it in the higher land. Sorry, someone's at the door.
It's the commissioner.
My bad. So I'll continue on. Is that all right?
Not at all. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, the reason of you can't really go beyond probably much of a 6 is there were some disappointments in this year. The game against Canada was surprisingly poor. I think obviously the game against Scotland was just disappointing because like with the players and the ability, like to just show a better account of ourselves.
Mm.
But at the same time, again, the challenges were there logistically throughout the year, the test match windows, the MLR season. Like it's not easy for USA Rugby, but there were some really strong points as well. There were some really good moments this year. So if I'm gonna be, I think, nice as well as also being optimistic, I'd probably say a 6 out of 10. I don't know. I throw the question back to you, David, because it's a hard one. As much as I want to be really positive, I can't be fooled by the fact like it was at points not what USA Rugby would have been wanting.
The Scotland match was the fly in the ointment for sure. It doesn't make sense to me that result when you look at all the others. The Canada match almost hurt more because I
Yeah.
felt like this is one we could go get and really probably should have. The Scotland one, I think that was bad for both teams. I don't think that's taught Scotland anything. I don't think we learned anything.
No.
Um, I like that we led from stem to stern against Romania. I like the fact that we weren't afraid to take the points. That told me that we have more confidence in our overall attacking ability. But I worry about our defense where it is right now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, all fair, totally fair observations, and again, we're looking across the whole year, the international window in the summer, the PNC, but in all of that, I do believe there is, and I've spoke to the guys. I had a really good chat. Luke Carty did an article with him last week. Is there is that inner belief that they are building something, and no way is the infamous cliche of Rome wasn't built in a day, and. I back that. I believe that. And when I see things, like certainly passages during that Romania game and even the Georgia game recently were miles better than what we had seen in, even Scotland. So, I still try and maintain to be positive as much as I also know, like, there needs to be big improvement heading into an important 2026 and then, of course, 2027.
Is Luke Carty the heir apparent to AJ McGinty?
I think a lot of what Luke offers is excellent for Test match rugby. Quality kicker of the ball, very good communicator. He understands Test match rugby now because he's got experience under his belt.
Even threw in a drop goal for us.
I know.
Can't remember the last time I saw
Fanta-
that.
Yeah, great stuff. And I think the thing with AJ and AJ's a good mate of mine and played with and so much respect. I think it's almost we have in maybe the past have relied too much on AJ and maybe tried to, put our game around him, understandably, but then at the same time through injury or being not able to travel, unavailable because of premiership commitments, whatever it might be, that has maybe been the downfall of what's been underneath him and getting that consistency to run a team. And, is it Luke? I think Luke at the moment certainly showed that at parts during this season. And the last two games I thought was impressive. I do think Chris Hilsenbeck had a really good MLR season. So I understand why Scott really wanted to sort of the conveyor belt at that fly half role. Because if you look at Luke and you look at Hilsenbeck, like they are, I think Cart's now, I think is 29, maybe 30. There's not much underneath the 29-year-old mark in that position. So that's slightly concerning for the future. But at the same time, strong halfbacks who drive the team and they need time in the saddle. Simple as that.
It's interesting. So I've been banging this drum for a long time, and maybe you, as somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, could speak to this crazy theory of mine. I love AJ McGinty, of course, you have to. But like you said, because he's off in the Premiership playing sort of at this one level, and then he comes back, and maybe the USA team is not at that level. That leads him to trying to do too many things when he said, okay, fine, I'll just do it myself. I think that leads to him being on the ground more, which I think leads him to being hurt more. I think his desire for USA to Rugby to succeed has almost hurt him and maybe us. Am I crazy?
I think that is a very fair comment. And knowing AJ like I do, like he loves and cares so deeply about USA Rugby, like that I can assure you. And he does take a lot of weight on his shoulders, and I just feel like AJ's getting no younger. I also believe AJ really wants to go to the next World Cup. I seriously know that as well. and I still believe he could absolutely play a very, very valuable role. But you are right in terms of just unfortunately in the US colours, it's the consistency of seeing McGinty in the 10 jersey. I can't remember too many times he's been able to string numerous games together, either through logistics
Right.
or injury. So, I think the focus needs to probably go away from playing the AJ McGinty style of USA rugby or whatever that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And look afield, and AJ then can just come into that and feel like he doesn't have to drive and make the game plan up and do everything like that and put a lot of pressure on himself.
Will Hooley, I'm going to let you go. I have one final thing for you. If you can put on your magical USA Rugby hat, we've got, 6 years to our men's World Cup, couple more years after that till the women's. Um, we recently there was talk about this. I think it's a $250 million sort of infusion from World Rugby. There's this interest in making this a successful World Cup coming from outside of the US as well as internally. What is our number one priority? How do we make this a successful World Cup?
Well, there's a lot of things in there that, we've all got to pull together. I think with World Rugby, USA Rugby, and the landscape here, whether that's the venues we choose. We're not going to move the time of the year for that 2031 World Cup. So everyone's getting, we should play in the spring and the summer. Yeah, that would be perfect. But I don't see that happening. So we've got to pull together to really embrace the cities, because those are going to be selected soon enough in terms of the cities selected for the venues at the Home World Cup. And then look, we need to start really, performing and getting into that top 12 of the world rankings. And my opinion is obviously with the Nations Cup that's been sort of put forward by World Rugby. I have got no problem about being in the sort of second tier USA alongside some other brilliant, other emerging nations. But we need to be winning that. That's in all honesty, by 2028, I would want the USA winning the Nations Cup. With the ability to actually say and be promoted in 2030 into the championship. Again, I'm talking about this competition, that tier system that World Rugby are trying to do. And it comes from having an MLR that's strong and healthy, has more games involved in it, therefore has a bigger calendar year. I think we also have to look at the ability of can we almost centrally contract our USA players, so that they are cared for throughout the year with rugby training, whatever it might be. I know that's a big thing of Scott Lawrence, of what he's wanted to try and achieve, and that's phenomenal if he can, and we can do that. So the ecosystem has got, but we could go, David, into college rugby improving, the pathway of that system, the connectivity of college rugby. There is so much that needs to get better. And I think, we want to see results. That's what fans want to see, right? They will want to see that a November tour against Scotland, Georgia, and Romania, Eagles win 2 out of 3, and are competitive in the third one. So that's where I believe that will breed success. That will breed, people wanting to get involved in the sport as well. I do believe high performance is a big, thing in all of this, as much as also all the great work that needs to continue to happen at the grassroots level. So you've asked me a pretty impossible question to answer in a short amount of time.
The answer is all the things.
Oh, all of it in. But I think now, with the fact that we've got even things like an Olympics in 2028, we're going to the Rugby World Cup in 27. We've got then a Home World Cup in 2031. We're not worrying about this kind of qualifying road, and we can really focus on the development, how we want to play, how we're looking at the pathway of our players from the youth, from the under 20s upwards. And that's just more on the high performance side of things, in my opinion.
Absolute final thing, and it just occurred to me. So I've been able to talk to some great people over the years. Jamie Wall, great journalist and pundit in New Zealand.
Yeah.
He at one point really impressed upon me. You really need to be happy with the level Major League Rugby's at and where rugby is at in the United States right now, because it gives you accessibility. When I'm at Fort Quincy, I get to say hi to the players. They come through the stadium, they come through the stands. You can talk to them. The guys who aren't in the 23 are in the stands watching. And that level is so great. It's such a great fan product. And he was like, yeah, if it gets any bigger, that's going to go away. And he talked about the NFL. If the NFL feels that Major League Rugby becomes a threat, they're just going to squash it. A World Cup is going to take coordination with the NFL. Will we see an adversarial relationship at that point, or is this something where both teams can get together and kind of say, yes, let's make American sport better?
I believe so. First and foremost, I wouldn't agree with that statement from Jamie. Fantastic. I do like seeing his stuff. I don't know. I don't know where his experience on that comes from, if I'm honest as well, because from my awareness that there is conversation between World Rugby and the NFL and with USA Rugby, because there has to be. They're literally, if you wanting to use these venues and whatever during that part of the year, it's the like of, well, guess why the Soldier Field game was that, because the Bears are playing away. They weren't playing that week. So like that has to physically be, and by the way, that infamous clip of Roger Goodell, commissioner of NFL at Croke Park with Bundy Aki for that Steelers game back in Dublin a few weeks ago. Like, again, it just shows you like that is going to be a conversation. We are never going to compete with the NFL. And again, it's like, oh, well, that's just, a loser mentality. It's like, no, it's not. It's being honest and realistic. And I don't think we need to. We can be something different. And we can be something which is, not ever gonna get the generate of revenue or TV deals or whatever it might be. But the growth of something else. It's outside, there's a reason why MLR comes after the Super Bowl. It's another contact sport that maybe is the thing for like the families, the community to really get behind and whatever it might be. And there is that access. So I wouldn't say, NFL just going to squash it if it gets better. I think, though, that we need to work with them for the World Cup. That is for sure. But I would say that there's some great cross purposes for both here. I've been seeing stuff like, rugby doing tackle technique workshops in NFL teams, things like that. So
Well, ever since Philly put in the tush push, I hear the word rugby come up on NFL broadcasts.
Isn't it brilliant?
Any advertising is good advertising.
So I would say the NFL is never going to be worried about rugby in terms of competitor, but I also believe that they can see some real values as much as also, as I say, if we can get a good relationship going, it's only going to be beneficial for us as a sport.
Will Hooley, you're a scholar and a gentleman. I'm so pleased you took the time to chat American rugby here on the Mall Street Journal. Any final things you want to plug before we let you go?
No, just thank you very much. Keep an eye out, obviously, for 2026. Plenty going on. You might have seen as well, there's certainly a new production product as well with ESPN, Sunday Night Rugby.
I did this, Sunday Night Rugby, yeah.
Yeah, that's something which is certainly in the very early stages, but been planned on and creation that I'm at the forefront of and really wanting to hopefully, bring something different, bring something that sports fans, not just rugby, will also want to enjoy as well. But almost, I can't believe it's the end of the year already, 2025. Or certainly getting towards the end. Excited for things to come.
Fantastic. I really appreciate your time. I hope to catch up with you soon. Hard to say when the next good time would be. The USA Eagles are off for a while. There's women's stuff coming up. In any event, let's stay in touch. I would love to catch up with you more, and this has been a fantastic time. I really appreciate it. We'll catch you soon. Thank you for being on the Mall Street Journal. Peace, my friend.
Thanks, David.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Is it just us, or is commerce getting weird? Tune in to Keeping Commerce Weird, a podcast by Commerce, where bold ideas, wild brand stories, and innovative minds shape the future of the industry. Listen now, wherever you get your podcasts.